What's up, everybody? Jacob Barnhill here with eXp Realty. Today we have another guest who has made the switch to eXp Realty, and we're going to go over, as we always do, the decision-making process, the thoughts, the fears, the concerns, but also the opportunity that eXp has for lots of different businesses. And today our special guest is Chavous Camp. And Chavous, just a little bit that I know about this guy, there's a lot here, but the little bit that we're going to unpack today, lifelong entrepreneur, has been working in the real estate industry for a little while now. And we're going to go into some different businesses and things that he has going on. Husband, father, a best-selling author. I didn't know that until today. And a frequent speaker on business and technology. And also a former EOS Implementer, which we're going to go into as well, which is how we kind of got connected. So I'm excited to break that down a little bit today as well. So I'm super happy. Thank you so much, Chavous, for spending your time with us today. And I'm excited, man, to do this. So without further ado, everybody, here's Chavous. Chavous, tell us a little bit about yourself in your own words.
Thanks, Jacob. So like you said, I'm a lifelong entrepreneur. Okay. I had my first business when I was 13. I bought the rights to a piece of software, maintained it for a year, realized I was maintaining and selling licenses to a buggy whip, sold that whole thing to somebody else, exited that business, and pretty much stayed out of the business world until I started my first real business as an adult, right? So been in the IT industry to start, ultimately found EOS. Now, EOS, for those who haven't heard of that,
yes,
it's a system and it's a process. There are 6 key components of your business. And ultimately what I helped people do, and I had a great amount of fulfillment doing this, I helped people get better at 3 things. And we called it vision, traction, and healthy. Okay, vision, get everybody aligned on the same page. Traction, execution, executing daily, day in and day out. And then healthy was that open, honest framework for teamwork, right? Yeah. And so I did that for several years helping entrepreneurs. And throughout this whole process, I've been in and around the real estate world, right? A lot of my IT clients were in the real estate world. And so I experienced a lot of fun hardship, just like all the real estate agents, just like all the home builders, just like all everybody else. Back when the bottom fell out of the housing market years ago, I was kind of right there with them. I might not have been selling houses, but, we got hit too, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Right.
So trying to find that best practices for business and how to do it. And that's kind of what EOS did, right? It's that framework and those 1,000 years or 100 years of good, solid business practice boiled down into a system. And so their implementers do that for businesses. So I made the switch to actually being in real estate and joining eXp because my wife and I have always, like I said, been very close to the real estate community. And actually we lost our house back in the fall, right? Or not fall like season, but back in the fall of the housing market, right? We lost our house as part of that. It was a big mess. And so we know what people are going through when they're doing that. And so we started a We Buy Houses style business where we buy houses from people and help them get out of that situation. And I was looking for a place to hang my real estate license as part of that, and ultimately ended up here at eXp.
That's cool. I think a lot of people ought to look at, and one of the reasons I'm really excited, just one of the few reasons I'm excited about interviewing today, is that you actually have this property solutions, We Buy House business, whatever you call it, and you're at eXp and you mainly focus on that. We're a little bit different in the fact that we offer these options. We can do those things, but we really look at, how do we help the seller do these things? And you're looking at, you probably refer out some of those opportunities some of the time versus us, where we'll handle some of the traditional stuff as well, right? So either one, it's cool that we have these different businesses, but both can be at eXp. So I want to go break down the decision-making process with you and go all the way back to the first time that you heard about eXp. What was going on? Where were you in your real estate cycle, and what did you see? How did it come to your awareness?
So somehow I had never heard of eXp before this year. Don't know how that happened.
Okay.
Ultimately, the property manager that we use, okay, I guess technically his wife is the one that holds the property management license, but the kind of the front man for that company is an eXp agent. Okay. And so that's where I heard about eXp, and I started looking into it and realized, number one, okay, everybody wants to know about revenue splits. Like, how much am I going to have to pay? Right. Okay. That's always important. Everybody cares about that. Generous. Okay. So much more to it than just the split. Right.
Totally.
But generous. Okay. Generous enough. So that was kind of a checkbox. Right. But then I got to look at how do they function and how do they operate. There's not a franchisee in every state that I got to pay franchise fees for or office fees for, right?
Right.
There's so if I want to hold a license in multiple states, go for it, right? There's not, which I do, by the way. I'm actually cross-licensed in Georgia.
Okay.
There's a great infrastructure of training. So, I knew the real estate industry and I know the construction side of that because a lot of my clients were home builders. Real estate and real estate law is its own kind of thing, right? The sales end of it. And I mean, I've been a salesman my whole life, but it's a different animal. So how do I learn that? Well, there's a huge, and I mean, huge amount of training, plus multiple where you might have like one, your broker in charge. You might have one managing broker in charge that you have to do it. In eXp, in our state level, we have 3 or 4, I think, that we can all go to, right? Mm-hmm. We don't have to just go chase the one person, right, who's our broker in charge. We can actually chase 3 or 4 managing brokers around and have that relationship with them. And so I know that I can go to this person and they're a specialist on A, B, and C. And if I have a question about this, I can go chat to the lady in charge herself, right? It's fantastic. It's a great setup.
Cool. So let me break down a little bit more, even like you were at what point in your real estate career, were you coming out of school when they first brought up this eXp opportunity, or were you already licensed at a different brokerage at the time? Where were you at?
So eXp was my first brokerage.
Okay.
I just come out of school. I had, we actually had a deal going right then, our property solutions company that we had just finished fixing up. We were getting ready to sell. Yeah. And I'm sitting there scratching my head like, I know I could use this person. I know I could use this person. But heck, I just finished my training. Can't I do something with this? And so I was able to get onboarded with eXp relatively quickly on that. So it was my first. I didn't really look at anybody else. I'd kind of already made the decision by then. So.
That's cool. So were there any concerns that you had when you were looking at this? You knew that you were going to have a creative real estate business model. Was there anything there that you had concerns on, fears about making that decision?
That is a great question. Yeah. So the fears that I had were that they would interfere, like the broker in charge or the eXp organization would interfere / prevent me from doing the investment activities that I wanted to do. Okay.
Right.
And so far I found that hasn't really been the case. They're actually open to me doing just about everything as long as I'm staying well within state license law, which in South Carolina might mean that I can't do some things that I can do in Georgia. But generally it doesn't become an issue. I was very much concerned about that. That's actually part of the reason I went with eXp, right? Because I thought that maybe eXp would be, because it's not that traditional brick and mortar, they would be quite a bit more open to some creative solutions. And, for the most part, I was not wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm curious, do you guys, are you buying and flipping these yourselves or owning them? Or are you, I guess, that all being one thing? And then are you guys also doing wholesale or trying to assign a contract as well, where you're trying to be the intermediary in some fashion?
Yes. No, we do all of that. Okay. So once we get the contract once we get the house under contract, we try to qualify it on one of our various programs, right? So is this going to be a wholesale deal? Do we assign this contract out to another to another investor? If we're doing that, I try not to get involved at all because of my license, right? We let somebody else do that. Sorry, go ahead.
So I was curious about that. How do you get paid then?
We get paid on the assignment fee on the back end.
Right. So when you're and at eXp, they they kind of have some different rules around that, right? Right.
Right. They absolutely have some different rules. So, and you actually have more of that information than I do. So I can't speak to exactly how, if I was the one who approached the seller and tried to get that contract, I'm not actually, I would have to go to you and be like, all right, now how do I get paid on this blasted thing? All right. I can't tell you that. I don't know. I will fully admit. Generally, if we're getting a contract that's going to be assigned to somebody, I make sure I don't talk to them. Okay. Because then eXp doesn't get involved. It's completely separate.
And I knew you had a process for that. And I guess my main point is that, and I do that a little bit different. But the main thing is I start with the seller, which I'm sure is what you do. It's a solutions business. And I kind of have the same thing. We just kind of go about it a different way where I get a commission check no matter what. I don't have to charge an assignment.
You can structure the commission however you want.
Right. And I know you and I have talked about that before, where sometimes the buyer can pay, and commissions, we know, by not EXP law, but NAR and LLR and all that stuff says that nothing's controlled. There's no set fees, no set rates, all of those things, right? And we've had all kinds of combinations.
Oh, yeah.
Of seller, buyer, combo, both, one and the same, right? So eXp has some different things you should be aware of, but I wanted to the fact there's a couple different ways you could skin the cat, and Chavous has a couple ways that he's doing things, and we have our own methods. So we're still keeping our license and able to collect commissions, being able to be a buyer for the sale. You and I have even talked about referring business because we have the license, and I have a little bit different forte, and that relationship can be mutual across the board. So I really wanted to highlight that fact because I think there's a lot of wholesalers and investors that they're on the fence. I know they are. Oh, should I get a license? Is that going to hurt me, or is that going to help me? Is that going to provide more liability? Can you talk on that at all?
I'll happily talk on that. I have lots and lots of opinions on that. So legally in the state of South Carolina, absolutely, you can still sign a contract. Okay. I'm not a real estate attorney. This is not legal advice. Seek competent counsel, right? However, in the state of South Carolina, you can't prevent somebody from assigning a contract. The key is we have to stay within the law about advertising, right? So we cannot advertise that we have a property for sale unless we are either the owner of the property, a direct representative of the property. So you've got a power of attorney saying that this person who's advertising it can advertise it, right? Not just a contract. Actually has to be, they have to be legal owner and be able to sign for them, basically.
Yeah.
Like I said, the legal owner itself. So those are the two options, right?
Right.
Otherwise,
or signing the listing agreement.
Or sign the listing agreement, right? I'm sorry.
If you're licensed.
Agreement,
if
right?
You're licensed.
Listing agreement, then an agent can advertise, right? Real estate licensee. However, if you have the contract and you are very, very, very clear that you are advertising the contract itself for sale and not the property, you can likely get away with it without having a lot of issues with the real estate commission.
Yep.
Where that comes into play, the real estate commission they don't like it. Most of us realtors don't like that because realtors tend to believe that eats a commission check. Okay. I kind of feel that. So there's some other ways you can work that, right? So what if you have your license, okay? And instead of trying to assign that contract, you work it with a novation agreement, okay? And effectively work with the person to list it, and then work an A to C contract where you're actually selling it directly, and you end up being that broker that real estate broker in the middle, and help sell that. There are ways to make it still happen that are amazing and work all day long.
Yeah.
Okay. Other options, you can just close on it. Okay, but Chavous, I don't want to close on it. I get it. You don't want to pay the transfer fees. It's what $1.85 per $500 in value, right? We all know that from school. It's the title fees and the insurance and blah, 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 blah. Chavous, I don't want to do that. I get it. Neither do I. However, imagine for me for a moment that you do that. You find some private money that you can work with where you can do that. you then get to use the biggest buyers list in the world, the MLS. Okay.
Yeah.
And you are the agent. You can then either save your commissions or pay yourself commissions, right? However you want to do it. Truly up to you, depending on how you split your businesses up. So there's a lot of benefits still to having your license.
Yep.
You just have to be exceptionally careful. Okay. We in our business have chosen to have one licensed individual, me,
Yep.
one unlicensed individual. So we can do the assignments without having to run afoul of, without having to worry about explaining to them agency and explaining all this stuff and going through stuff, right? We can do that. I don't touch them. Okay. Or I get involved and get them to sign a listing agreement. Okay. Or get power of attorney to sign it if that's the way the contract works out. So there's various ways we can do that.
So this is way more than, and this is good though, because I think it's good that people understand that if you're not thinking this way, I believe my opinion is that you're going to get left in the dust in the future. People are looking for options. When I go to a department store and I want to find a product that's green and blue and not just white, you know what I mean? I want to look and see what different sizes, what different options, what different timelines, what different prices, what different features and benefits that come with the thing. I think that especially this day and age, I can create my avatars and all this stuff, right? People want options. And I think that if we're not thinking this way as a real estate professional, then we could really be left in the dust. And it creates, you're only as strong as your network too. Right. In a lot of different ways. And it forces you to, like you and I have been conversating about how we're going to start working together in different fashions in the future. And it's good. It's good business to have those relationships. And Absolutely. It's so much easier with the license in so many ways, makes you more legitimate. The people that are truly, I think, growth minded and learning transactions at a higher level. I know how more and do presentations on hybrid agent investor models, how investors or agents should work with the other, because I've been both deeply, intimately. So I think there's so many benefits. So you've checked that box for yourself being at eXp. We can have a creative real estate business and be at eXp, right? And not break any laws or rules with eXp. So let's talk about some other concerns that you had. Were there any other concerns that you had other than the property solution stuff when you were looking at eXp?
Yeah, I was looking at how many meetings are they going to make me attend, right?
Yeah.
I hate to say it. I'm not a full-time real estate agent. I have no intention of being.
Yeah.
I've got my license in the back pocket just in case something goes wrong and I had to become one, right? I could absolutely do that. Probably be a pretty darn good one if I tried hard enough. But that's not my deal, right? Most of my time is spent on the business, and then I use the license when I need to push our products out, right? So that was a real big concern for me. How much time am I going to have to spend chasing this company around?
Right.
And thankfully, the answer is not very much. They do expect you to show up for a Monday meeting. Okay. Attendance is probably taken so that they can comply with if an auditor came in and said, how often has Chavous actually shown up for a meeting? They could probably tell, right? But no one's going to be knocking on your door from eXp and saying, hey, why weren't you at Monday's meeting? Now, you should go to them. Let me go ahead and say this. Good information gets passed. You should go to them. But no one's going to be knocking on your door. You're saying we're kicking you out of here if you don't.
And we have office admin for us. We have a huge team of agents. We have other meetings that we have them go to. So it's easy to get leveraged out and extract that information. So we have someone.
So let's also talk about the different services that eXp will give us, right? So number one, they've got, if you want leads, they've got an amazing lead program. I came very, very close to deciding that I wanted to spend more time doing actual retail transactions and almost signed up for that. They have an amazing transaction coordination program, right? So these were all concerns like, can I build a team without having to jump through a bunch of hoops? Could I build a multi-state team that worked on multiple levels when we grow this company? And the answer to that is, yeah. You know what? Absolutely. You could have staff that does transaction coordination for the whole team, or you could use the built-in eXp transaction coordination. Are they going to give me the tools that I need, right? Are they going to give me access to the compliance tools and the contracts and everything that I need? And the answer to that is absolutely yes. Are they going to be able to provide some creative solutions to me, or are they just a virtual version of a traditional brick and mortar real estate establishment?
Right.
Okay? And the answer is no, they've got all of that, right? And those are the things that I looked into. Some of them I will fully admit I didn't look into until after I jumped.
Yeah,
but
I get it. It's like most people. I don't think I got the full grasp of what eXp was. I saw a few things that I was really interested in.
Yeah.
And mainly partnerships with the guys that I wanted to learn from, which was the most enticing thing when I came over. But now on that's a good segue into my next question. What is your favorite thing? If you had to pick one, now that you're here, what's your favorite thing about eXp?
Gosh, wish you'd asked me that in advance. Favorite thing about eXp, I am going to go back to the multi-state ability, right? I keep harping on that, but like I can work with agents across the country, and we're all in, I guess I did forget to mention this. We're all in one central communication system, right? So all I got to do is reach out and look, I got a full directory. I can pick up the phone. We're all part of one company. And there I said it. That's my favorite part. We're all part of one company. Okay. There are not 15,000 franchisees across the country, each one with yes, they run underneath the brokerage of or run under the rules of the big corporate, right? But 15,000 different sets of rules, and each franchisee doing their own thing. It's one set of rules, right? Now, yes, there's some state specific stuff in there, but it's one eXp, and that took me a minute to come up with. Should ask me in advance. That really is my favorite part of eXp, right? It took me less than 20 minutes to find 3 amazing agents in the city where we're going to have to do a co-broker relationship with, because I'm not driving 3 hours just to market the house, right?
Yeah. That's so cool.
That's probably my favorite part.
I think right along the lines of a lot of that, my favorite thing I always like to harp on is that collaboration. Every brokerage has collaboration.
Sure.
But when you have it in the simplistic model that we have, like what you're talking about, things are a lot more easy to understand. They're transparent, similar across state lines and things like that. But when we have the incentive across the entire brokerage like we do, it's not a collaboration of sharing to a degree. It's like wildfire.
It's wildfire. So here, let me give a good example. Let's say I came up with a deal in Nevada. Okay. I am not licensed in Nevada. Nevada is not a state we even market in. I doubt I will have much of anything, but let's say something dropped in my lap. I don't have to go look up a franchisee and hope that the franchisee will play ball with me just to answer a handful of questions about how real estate license law works out there. Right. There's a state brokerage room that I can go in and I can just say, hey, by the way, I have these questions, and I just get them answered. They're just answered flat, right? Mm-hmm. There is no playing games or jumping through hoops to try to get in touch with, the right
chasing
person.
Gooses.
Yeah, chasing geese to get to the right person to answer a question. I can get that question answered quickly. It's all one team.
Yep. It is pretty amazing. So awesome, man. So what's the team look like now, and it sounds like some multi-state operation, but what's it look like now? And give us a clearer picture on where you're trying to take it.
So my current team right now is 2 people and 3 virtual assistants, right? We're actively trying to hire a executive assistant for me and my lovely wife / acquisitions manager. However, from there, we're scaling this thing out. I've talked to you about some partnerships, because I don't have time to market even the houses that we flip, right? That was kind of the idea when I got my license, and I still will be heavily involved and do most of the lifting, but the actual like open doors, field phone calls about the listing, blah, 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 we don't have time to do, right? The marketing side of it. So that's where we find a great team that we can partner with someone who has experience recruiting these agents, okay, and start passing those off either as referrals or more likely co-brokerage opportunities. And we work together on that. I get to do that in multiple states, right? I find that team in each state, and it's either a co-broker or referral opportunity, depending on whether or not I'm licensed in the state and have access to their stuff.
Right.
So that's where we're going. So we're already in 2 states, right? The next phase of the process will be in more in this state, right? So right now we just focus on the Columbia, South Carolina market and the Augusta, Georgia markets, right? We'll be expanding that to a larger space in in Georgia, and a larger space here in South Carolina. So inching our way up to Greenville, Spartanburg, down towards Charleston, eventually going and knocking on Charlotte's door. And then we got a decision to make if we're going to actually jump into North Carolina or not. So
sounds like some more partnership opportunities.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to connect with Chavous, man, reach out to him now. He's expanding. He's getting ready to make some moves. So reach out.
Our 3-year plan has us in 2 states, which we're already in, preferably 3 states. So there you go.
Love it, man. I love it. I love it when people have the big things, and hopefully sounds like we're going to be part of the process too. So I'm excited, man. So tell me, there's somebody watching this today and they're either just learning and now they got to go do some research, or they're on the fence and they're still trying to figure out if this is the best decision for them. And what would you tell someone like that?
I'd tell them, call me. I mean, really, just call me or call Jacob, right? Between the 2 of us, we can talk you through the good and the bad, right? Everybody's got good and everybody's got bad. I think the good way outweighs. We can give you the lay of the land, right? We can tell you what's going on. And I tell you, eXp has been, I'll say it's been a godsend for me, because I have learned so much that I didn't know. You think you know everything, right? Learned a lot, but also it's given me some amazing opportunities that I would not have otherwise in other brokerages.
That's cool, man. Well, Chavous, man, I really appreciate your time. And I actually want to respect your time as well, because I think we could keep going on some.
Yeah, we can keep going.
But if anybody wanted to reach out to you and they wanted more information on what you're doing, maybe a partnership opportunity in a different state as you're expanding, or they want to talk to you about eXp, how do they get a hold of you?
So you see my name, it's spelled kind of funny, right there. Okay. You take that name, Chavous, Chavous, and then the whole name, chavuscamp.com, right? So make sure you spell Chavous correctly. Chavous at chavuscamp.com. That will come to me all day long.
Cool. And if you guys didn't get that, or you get where it kicks back, just hit me up. I'll make sure you got the right email. So Chavous at chavuscamp.com. Cool, man. Well, I appreciate anything else for our crowd today that's out there that you want to share with the group at all. Anything.
If you're on the fence, go ahead and make the move. It's going to be worth it.
Worst case scenario,
you move to another brokerage,
right?
Out a couple of weeks and maybe a couple $100, and that's at most. I don't remember what my onboard fee was, but it wasn't much. So
$149.
Yeah, there you go.
One-time fee, $149. And I always call it a 100 plus brokerage, man. There's so much opportunity, ways to get paid. You don't even have to do what you think you need to do to be a part of that. I've heard so many cool stories, and people get over here too. And the number one thing I always hear, man, I wish I would have came over sooner. I always hear that. I wish I would have done it sooner. So if anybody has any questions about eXp, that wraps us up for the day. Reach out to Chavous, ask the questions, especially figure out how he's working his We Buy House, his property solutions business. I think that's so amazing. More people are starting to see the light and setting up their businesses like that at eXp. So reach out to Chavous, guys. I appreciate everybody tuning in. I appreciate your time. Chavous, I appreciate your time, my friend. That wraps us up for the day. Thank you so much.